How are you guys?
A little stressed, but we're doing okay.
You're a little stressed? Yeah, what's going on?
We got a big event on Saturday for our program. Christmas event.
Oh, a big Christmas event.
Yeah.
Wow. So how's it working for both of you to be working on that?
Tensions have been.
There's been some. We had a couple of rough patches this week, and where did it start for you?
Well, let's see. Do we have enough time? No, I'm playing. I think it's just been. I think Paul. Well, from my perspective, it's just the pressure of wanting everything to be done right and to come out right. It's been kind of heavy.
The pressure from
my husband
to
get things right.
You were starting to say it, but to you, right?
Mm-hmm.
And she's been getting on my nerves lately, so.
Okay, so you've felt probably a lot of pressure, Paul, to make this a really great event. That pressure then gets passed on to you, Chantel, basically. So what's that look like? How's it come down?
A lot of doubt that I can do the job, or impatience. Lots of disapproving looks. That kind of stuff.
Okay. And have you talked about that? Have you guys processed?
No, I think we both just let it build, and then.
One thing we did different though was we tried to say sorry early on, right?
Yeah, that's right. You did do that
twice. Okay. Well,
I did admit to being flooded and not being able to talk.
You did.
And he accepted that.
Okay. And what happened after that? Did you take a time out, or what happened?
No, we were on the way to drop him off somewhere, so I dropped him off and I drove off mad until a song on the radio, a song on my tape deck came on, and then I was able to think of him in a different way.
Yeah, and I think I have.
Okay.
I have a new kind of ability to let her go. I'm not as threatened by her leaving as I used to be. Mainly because in my mind, I've worked it out to where if she's telling me she's flooded, I know that it's beyond her own kind of capacity to kind of go the opposite direction.
Yeah.
So I allow her to leave without feeling like she's going to be gone forever. And I'm referring to our sessions before. But the one, I don't know. I think I'm all right with you leaving now, whereas before, it just felt like.
I tried to make it a point to let him know that I will be back. Or
you didn't this time, though. You just said you were flooded.
Yeah, but I wasn't going anywhere. I was dropping you off. I'm talking about if I'm leaving.
Oh,
so I didn't look at that as leaving because I had to drop you off.
So if we would have been at home,
I would just went to the room, or I would have said, I'm talking when I say I have to go, I have to leave. But I try to say I'll be back, or even when I go with my friends now, I try to, babe, I'll be back.
So when I was already in the car, because I was leaving anyways, you didn't feel.
I didn't feel that as leaving you. No.
Oh, okay. That's cool because I didn't question it.
Yeah.
So what's left over between you in terms of that period of time that occurred?
We didn't really talk out what bothered us to begin with, not knowing what page we're on.
You said we didn't?
We talk about it.
Sounds like you
later, but
we didn't really get it. Why? Yeah.
Sounds like you need to.
Yeah, I think it's still kind of. Yeah.
So do you need to talk about how you want to be treated during this event, or is it more processing what has already happened between you?
Well, I think we understand because of this huge event we have going on, because of some budget issues we're having with our program. So I think we have an understanding of why. I think it's how that needs to be addressed. So it's like the tact that we need to address. How we deal with it, how we treat each other is huge. Because I think we both understand the why. Usually we know what made that other person mad, or even where that person, because of our previous sessions, where that person is coming from, but it doesn't make it any easier to deal with. So
I guess one thing I'd like to understand is, you guys are obviously referring, to several moments that were difficult. Can you fill me in on what those were? What was going on at the time? Maybe pick one that was the worst for you. For either one of you.
Most recently, yesterday, we got into a bit of a spiff because he wanted our credit card back, our debit card back. We were in front of a group of people, and I didn't feel like I had done anything wrong for him to. I felt like I was being accused of wrongdoing, and that I had made some huge error, and so he proceeded to want the credit card back, and so I was mad that he was making me look like I needed his permission, and that I had, like a child, basically. I felt like I was being treated, that I was this little kid, and I made a mistake, so I lost my privileges. And it really pissed me off. My dad was there, his sister was there, and so I just did not like being belittled and made to feel that small. And so that was probably our most recent issue.
Okay. I wonder if it would be helpful to process this using a particular tool called the aftermath of a fight. Would that be good? To kind of clear the air between you. And then we can talk about what can be done in a situation like that to make it better next time. Okay? All right. So let me give you this. This is called the Aftermath of a Fight questionnaire. And here's what it's got on it. It's got several questions for the two of you to discuss with one another, and I'll help you go through it kind of stage by stage. The first one has kind of a list of feelings that you may have felt during this event, right? Okay, so got a little bit of a sketch of what happened. Paul, there will come a time during this when you present your own, experience of what happened. And the basic premise of this is that there's always two points of view to what happens. Always two points of view. And when you're processing a fight, we really want to get exactly what was your experience. What was your experience, Chantel? What was your experience, Paul? Not only just kind of what happened, the facts, but also the feelings. That's an important piece of it. So let me help you go through this piece by piece so that you can just process what happened and how to make it better. All right? Okay. So we'll take turns with each of the items. Chantel, the first list of feelings might have been feelings that you had during the incident. So can you read through that list? Can you read through that list and just say aloud which of those feelings you had during this incident yesterday? Paul, got a question?
Would I at any point, am I going to be able to share my perspective?
Exactly. So what we'll do, we're going to alternate back and forth, Paul. So Chantel will read from the list of feelings, then you will. Okay? Then Chantel will present her point of view of what happened, and then you will. So you're going to get an opportunity each step of the way equally to say what your feelings were and what the reality was for you. All right? Okay. All right. Chantel?
See, I felt defensive. My feelings got hurt, totally flooded, angry, misunderstood, and criticized. Took a complaint personally, not cared about. Tense.
Okay. Hand the list now to Paul. And Paul, just read off that list and say out loud whatever feelings you had during this incident.
Say that again, the last one.
So you read off the list, look at that list, and just say aloud which feelings were true for you.
All
right, during this incident.
I felt defensive, definitely not listened to. Angry. Worried, afraid, and tense.
Okay. Worried, afraid, and tense. Okay, good. All right, now let's move to the next part. Now notice, you guys, this is actually a model for how you process a difficult time. You're not justifying your feelings, you're not arguing with the other person's feelings, just hearing them from each other. Okay.
There's actually some others on here that I felt.
We'll go for it, Paul.
Okay.
Say them out loud.
Because, list is like...
I didn't know we're supposed to go through those.
Yep, go through all of them. Chantel, you may have some more too. Go ahead, Paul.
Frustrated. I think that though both of us were partly right, though. That's on here, so I'm going to pick it. Taken for granted. Definitely not calm. Felt like I had no influence. I wanted to win this one. My opinions didn't matter. And this one's not on here, but betrayed.
Okay. Felt betrayed.
So.
Okay. Okay. Keep reading, Chantel. See if there are some other ones that.
If you're finished there with the first list, that's fine.
Paul, nice try.
Yeah, I don't see pissed off, but I felt like I was right and you were wrong. I was frustrated, unfairly picked on, taken for granted, overwhelmed with emotion, powerless. I had no influence, alienated.
Okay. All right. Okay. It's bringing up some feelings, isn't it? Yeah. Okay. What are you feeling right now?
Pissed off.
Pissed off. All right. Okay. So you're right back there.
Is it because of how I felt about the incident?
Partially.
That's the purpose of this, is to understand also what the other person felt.
Are you offended by what I said? By how I felt?
I don't know.
Paul, I know you're concerned about Chantel's reaction to how you felt. And I think that this incident was loaded for both of you. Both of you felt things pretty deeply. Here's the next step of this, okay? And it's one of the most important steps. Really important. Each of you are going to take a turn presenting your point of view, your reality of what happened in this incident. So you're going to be talking not about blaming the other person, not about you did, you were this, you were that, but as much as you can, describe, when you said this, or when I heard that, I felt this. You want to go back and now place your feelings in the reality of what happened. So you're going to talk about your experience of what happened while trying not to be real critical of the other person, but just describing what happened, the facts of what happened, and what your experience was. All right? Chantel, do you want to start? No?
Oh, I need a minute.
Okay. Are you able to hear Paul's?
You feel like you're flooded now?
I don't know. Just got a lot going on in my mind right now. You can start though.
Okay, Paul.
Where do you want me to start?
I want you to start with and describe just the incident that she's referring to. If there's a little background to it, that's okay, but we're mostly focused on this particular incident and what you felt, Paul, what your experience was of it,
All right.
what your concerns were, and so on. All right?
All right, so Chantel basically was down.
You're talking to her.
Okay, so on my way back home, I run into and is kind of in a hurry to get to you. So I'm curious as to what she wants, and so I thought she might have just called her down to help you wrap presents or whatever. And so I take her to you, and then somewhere in between her entering in the room and her starting to leave, I realized that you gave her some money for gas. So my immediate thought was, okay, so where did Chantel pull that from? I'm always thinking any money that's ever spent, I'm thinking, where is that coming out of? And so I ask you, and all I expected from you was to say, oh, I thought through it, it's coming out of this account, or it's coming out of, and then when you did respond, you said it's coming out of the food budget. The night prior to that, we had just spent that. So I'm thinking that's not right. And so when you're like, no, there's actually extra money there. And so, but at that point, I'm thinking, man, your habits are coming back into play again, of kind of blind spending and not realizing where stuff is going. And so I'm upset at that immediately. So I'm like, well, man, I need the debit card back. And then that's when you basically shut me down. I was like, no.
Careful.
Okay.
Don't go too blaming here.
Okay, well, you
When she said,
yeah, that's when you said, no, I'm not going to give you the card. And then after asking for it again, you didn't respond at all. And so, and can I talk about how that made me feel?
mm-hmm.
All right. And that pissed me off. And it was in front, and what made it worse is that it was in front of your dad and my sister. I didn't feel like it needed to get to that, to where it was out of control, or, and so, priority for me was to shut down that access to funds, so that we don't get in a worse predicament. So I'm needing the card back, and when you said no, that was in complete kind of defiance to what we had agreed on as far as our budget was concerned. I am the person that is supposed to keep things in balance and in checks there, and so I felt like you disrespected that, and you didn't acknowledge that. Now, mind you, that probably was not the right time to talk about finances in front of your dad and my sister. But at the time, I didn't care. I was like thinking to myself, I just need to make sure that no further damage is done. And so that's why I needed the card.
Paul, can you focus in on what you felt when Chantel said no and wanted to hold on to the card? What did you feel in front of these people?
Oh man, anger.
Any shame?
Shame?
Kind of embarrassment?
Oh, definitely embarrassed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And that just magnified my anger. And so I took it in my hands and I went to her purse and got the card out.
Mm. Okay. So you felt embarrassed that it felt she was resisting you there, kind of like defying you.
Mm-hmm.
It felt like to you. You felt embarrassed. Made you even more angry. You went to her purse and physically got out the card, right? Okay. Okay. So, sounds like there was a bit of panic around, uh-oh, we're going over our budget. This isn't what we agreed to. And that was the thought, anyway. And then the interaction between you that played out, you got furious, it sounds like, right?
I don't know about furious. I was angry, though.
You were angry.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Okay. Anything else you want to add to that? Okay. Can you, Chantel, see where any little piece of what Paul is saying from his perspective might make sense from his perspective? Not necessarily from yours, but from his shoes.
What? What?
If you put yourself in Paul's shoes.
One thing that makes sense is that he got embarrassed.
Okay. So that part makes sense to you. And then kind of angry out of that.
Right.
So can you tell him that at least a part of that makes sense to you?
I can understand that you got embarrassed. And angry.
Okay.
You're angry now, and I feel it.
And so now, Chantel's going to tell you her side of things, okay? Do you feel ready to hear it?
Yeah.
Okay, Chantel.
I don't know how to do it.
When you said this, when you did that, I felt what? So, kind of piece by piece, kind of walk us through what happened for you, inside of you, through this.
Can you look at me while you do it?
I'm trying to piece together the very fragmented feelings right now. I was already annoyed and frustrated working downstairs, rapping and organizing, getting volunteers and keeping people out of the room. And everybody that comes in the room talks about what they want. I don't care if it's management or a kid. So having to usher people's wants out of the way and tell them we're here to volunteer. And came in, I was irritated that I came in with some girl. So I'm thinking, great, now she's thinking what she wants. And he had called me earlier and said, Mom, I ran out of gas. Do you have anything? Because I don't have any gas money. So I thought it through, and I thought, oh, I got that cash on me. I can just give her that, but I couldn't find it. So I was like, well, it's around here somewhere. I'll find it later. I can just use $10 out of our food because I only spent $30, and I only spent $32, so there's $18 left. And so I just used $10 out of that because we still have some more food money on reserve. And so she came in to get the money. You came in behind her, which I knew as soon as you saw and kind of that you would have an issue with it because of what we went through with Roland yesterday. And but I didn't think that you would call me out in front of everybody. And it made me feel really small and like I was, I don't know, puppeted or controlled.
That remind you of anything?
And it felt like the only way to defend myself was to be defiant.
That's it. Defend yourself from what?
From his lack of trust and
Talking to him still.
from your lack of trust and your seeming inability to believe in me for anything. Anything. $10. I'm really tired.
What, Chantel? You're really tired of?
I just didn't feel like that was the proper tact. You could have sent me a text message. Dale, I really didn't think it was a good idea for you to spend that money. I need the car back. I would have rented the car back. In front of my dad. And I know he's sitting there thinking that he wants to say something because I'm his daughter. And you're talking to me like that.
I felt like, come we couldn't just wait.
Chantel, what did it feel like to have this go down in front of your dad?
Like I really wasn't a grown up. Left my dad for another dad. Anytime you ask for the card, I give it to you. Even if I don't agree. But I just felt like it was totally unnecessary to do that in front of people. I would never do that to you.
Sounds like you felt really humiliated.
33. And then I just have to smile through it afterwards. Like I wasn't mad, like it didn't matter. And then I know you're gonna call. Sorry, babe. I feel like I'm running out of grace. I'm trying to be understanding. Just didn't feel like that was fair. But once you get it, it seems like once it's, when things look like they're going a certain way, I have to be the one that takes the brunt end of that. Oh no, it looks like this, so it always points back to me. I think the situation was probably more stuff built up, and that was like the icing. Didn't want to cry today.
Well, I think it goes deep, Chantel. Doesn't it? Doesn't it go deep into, that whole time, that whole period of time growing up where you're treated as stupid, you're treated as not a person but a thing, you're treated as pretty worthless. You're certainly not treated with any kind of respect. You're treated with a lot of contempt as a kid.
I'm not giving anybody no responsibility, no trust, except for people's kids. They wouldn't trust me with $10, but they'd leave me with their kids for a weekend.
That's not how you want to be seen. That isn't who you feel you are. And it sounds like you really want to be seen by Paul with respect and trust. And you didn't feel that at that time.
Do you feel that any time? That I respect you and that I see you?
Sometimes.
Like when?
Paul?
I don't know.
Let me pause for a moment, because I think that in a situation like this, where there's a lot of pain that gets stirred up, and you feel like you're being criticized, when actually what's happening is she's describing an incident and her feelings about it. Are you feeling criticized right now? Okay.
Yep.
Okay, let's talk about that for a moment, because we don't want that to happen in this. The goal is to not get back into the fight again. So what
I'm
What?
also feeling rejected.
You're feeling rejected. As what? What's leading you to feel rejected?
When she says stuff like, I'm running out of grace.
That feels like a threat. You're going to get thrown out. Is that what's going on right now? Okay. That triggers some fear, doesn't it?
My first thought when she said that was anger. And so I almost felt like I wanted to verbally attack her, to let her know that I don't care about that kind of stuff, when really I do, but I wanted her to feel what I'm feeling now.
Can I tell you what I see happening between the two of you right now? It sounds like in that incident, you felt powerless, helpless and powerless, and humiliated. Right now, when you say to him, I'm running out of grace, puts you in a position of power where I don't know how many times I'm going to forgive you. And that may be how you're feeling because you feel so hurt by this. But I think what you're really trying to say, Chantel, is, for God's sakes, can you please stop this? Can you please stop this? Because it hurts me so badly. I just can't stand it. I can't stand it. And the only way you really know how to say that is, I don't know how many times I can forgive you, to put you in a one-up position when you really feel one down. I think what you're needing to say, Chantel, is, oh, this injures me so badly. I just can't stand it. It hurts too much. Does that make sense? Yeah? And Paul, I think what you're feeling is, hey, I know I could have handled it better, but I had my side of this too. I had my feelings there too. Last year, when we went bankrupt and we lost everything, was one of the worst times of my life. It was one of the worst nightmares. It was one of the worst, most horrific things I've ever been through. And it humiliated me, it shamed me, it made me feel like a failure, it made me feel like I could just die. It made me feel so terrible. It traumatized me. That's the background of this, isn't it? And we've worked so hard to come back. We've worked so friggin' hard. And I'm desperately, desperately, desperately afraid of losing it all again, of making the same mistakes again. Is that accurate? Am I Chantel, you're wanting to be trusted. You're needing to be trusted. That you're not going to be making the same mistakes again, right? And certainly not wanting to be humiliated in front of others. Paul, so afraid of slipping over that line that when it even vaguely smells like getting anywhere near that line, you panic inside, I think. And I think, Paul, when you panic and when you feel out of control, and certainly bankruptcy is one of those things that makes somebody feel completely out of control and panicked, as you just watch everything slip away that you worked hard for. When you feel panicked and out of control, how do you make yourself feel better? You get over controlling. You get controlling. I'm going to take control here so this doesn't happen again. Don't you think?
Yeah, but it doesn't work.
I don't know what works or what doesn't work. But you're right, being over controlling sure doesn't work, especially in public. It doesn't work. Can you tell Chantel at this moment what you're afraid of?
That's hard because I feel like she already knows.
Doesn't matter. Say it again. Because you're with your heart right now. Say it from your heart, what you're afraid of.
I feel like there's something connected to it, though.
Can you share that with her?
I don't know if I can. I can try, though.
Okay.
But then if I do start explaining it to her, it's going to come off as blaming and.
Well, state it like a newspaper reporter. Just the facts. What are you scared of?
I'm afraid of us slipping back into our old patterns. And even though we got tools to manage that, it feels like we're not gaining any ground. And what that means for our family is more stress, more heartache. And I'm unwilling to let it happen without me trying to do something about it. And what I'd like to understand is, I think I kind of know. I'm going off there. Is that all right?
Let's see where it goes.
Okay. Well, I'm trying to understand what causes you to always say yes to everyone whenever they want something or need something. And why is it so hard for you to simply say, no, we don't have it? There will always be homeless people in the world. There will always be someone that needs a helping hand. And I think we have done our share over our share in helping folks get through stuff. They stay in crisis mode. What makes it difficult for you to, we only can give what we have.
Paul, if you're sincerely asking the question, you have to leave a space of silence for Chantel to respond, rather than trying to persuade her to think differently without letting her answer the question.
I think one of the bigger reasons for me is it's something that I think, well, what comes to mind for me is that there is a lack of control that I have over being able to make decisions. So I feel like I always have to find a way, as opposed to just us having a flat out. For instance, I feel there's a bias often where if someone needs help and it's directed towards you, and for some reason that type of help you feel the need to give to that, then no matter what, that's going to be okay.
That's funny because I say no a lot.
To your family.
No, to people, period.
I say no a lot too. I don't say yes to everyone. But that's not the point. You're not letting me talk.
That is the point.
Hold it. So you're jumping in, slow down, let the woman talk.
My point is that I was, part of it is the way I was raised. I mean, I was raised to where you're always there for your family. Your family, there's no question. I've never been taught anything different. My grandma had hospital beds in her house. She had everyone staying with her. She had, I mean, I've always seen that. I've never seen her turn anyone down. I've never seen someone that went without. And so I don't know what it looks like to say, you're the first person I ever met that said no to people just on general principle, just because you wanted to, just because you didn't want to. I had never seen that before.
Well, that's what I would say, that the reason why I'm able to say no is because my parents did the same thing your grandma did. And you know who suffered? We did. Yeah. We were the ones that went without while other kids had stuff.
Yeah.
And so my motivation is my kids.
No. Because before we had kids, you would say, I mean, when I met you, you were capable of this. And
my motivation then was us.
And you is how it's felt.
Yep.
Careful, because that can move into your selfish. Let me stop you for a moment. Because it's real easy when you guys have different belief systems, really. Different belief systems and different values coming from your own family experiences to believe strongly in what you learned from your family and get critical of the other person for not feeling the same way, not doing the same thing, without trying to grasp, wait a minute, where are they coming from, and does that make some sense? Not that you have to agree with it. It's not that you have to agree with it. It's just about understanding. It's understanding. So if you imagine, guys, if you imagine the two of you sitting in a balcony watching Paul and Chantel on the stage having this discussion, and you brought your best minds and hearts to listening to the two of them, you each would be able to identify, certainly with Chantel and Paul, but I would guess that you'd also be able to hear something like this. Chantel grew up in a home, at least part of the time, where Grandma was good. Grandma took care of people. Grandma was the only positive role model of some sort that you had. She was it. She was the only kind one in this woman's life when she grew up. And so what Chantel learned was be good and give. Be good and give. Being good meant giving. Now, mind you, if Grandma hadn't given to her, where would she be? She might be dead right now. She might be in jail right now. She might be an addict in the gutter right now. That's kind of where she might be. If somebody hadn't been good to her. And Paul, your family gave too, but it gave in such a different way. Gave in a different way. Pillars of the community giving. This is, we do this, we do that, and it looks good, man. And we keep doing it and doing it and doing it. And meanwhile, we ignore our own kids and we deprive them, And so a lot of resentment builds up, and a lot of anger builds up, and a lot of jealousy builds up. And wait a minute, what about us? Which makes perfect sense, too. Makes perfect sense. What about us? What about your own kids? And that's what you're now saying to Chantel. What about us? What about us? Especially when we went over the edge of the cliff and fell, man, 1,000 feet last year. What about friggin' us, is what you're saying. It's not just about me, it's about us. It's about us. And you're saying, hey, people are in need. I can totally relate to where she was. I was there. I was where he is. I was where she was. I can relate to that. I want to give. I want to be my grandma. I don't want them to hurt. I don't want them to suffer. And you're saying, well, I don't want our family to suffer either. And you know what? You're both right. Can you see how you're both right? You're both right. And so part of our work together, guys, part of our work together is going to be creating a culture of meaning, of shared meaning and values where you honor each other's purpose for living, really. You honor each other's values, even if they're not your own. You find a middle place, some kind of middle zone, where a portion of each of your values is honored. It doesn't go either all one way or all the other way. Gotta honor both here, which I think, so far, so good you've been working at, but it runs into trouble in situations like this. I want to get us to the last piece of this particular exercise. Because if we come back to this incident, in the incident, though there was a clash to some degree of history and values here, and experience and hurt, which we'll continue to talk about and try and understand with one another. Given a situation like this that happens again, because inevitably something like this will happen again, Chantel, you know somebody else is going to come and tap you for something because you're a giver. Paul, you know you're going to get triggered if you are seeing and feeling tight and wanting to protect the family. It's going to happen again. What do you want to do differently next time to make this work out better? And what do you need your partner to do differently next time to make it better? What do you need your partner to do differently, and what do you need to do differently to make it better next time? What's one thing you could do differently?
Well, we actually have a compromise that's already set up, but I don't think we have thought about it as a way to express your belief or because I actually agree with her giving.
Here's what, let me reframe it a little bit, Paul, because we'll have to go down deep into that one.
All right.
What I'm talking about is
For this particular
little piece where stuff is happening in front of other people, you're wanting her to stop giving or to take the credit card or whatever. There's something, a financial clash that comes up in front of other people. Chantel, why don't you start? What could you do differently next time, and what do you want Paul to do differently next time? Can you tell him that?
Well, I know that you want me to call you and alert you, and that would have solved it if I had said, "Hey, Ebony's coming by to get a couple bucks for gas. I'm going to take it out of the food account." This would have eliminated that altogether. But I have a fear that you'll automatically shut me down whenever I do that. So that's why that is easy for me to give that to you, because I know that I'll have to go through some hoops. And if you were probably a little more, I don't know if you thought it out before because you use no as a first resort.
No, I asked
Stop. Wait a minute. Keep it simple.
I feel like you're going to use no as a first resort, and then I'll have to go through hoops.
Can I just suggest something? Rather than answering for him and attributing to him what he's going to do, say what you're going to do and what you want him to do. What you want him to do. Not what he's going to do, but what you want him to do.
I'm willing to call you and give you a heads up, which I have been doing better lately. I really need milestones. It's huge for me that I get credit for stuff. I don't know why, but I need
Sure.
to see that it used to be.
Tell him.
It used to be this amount, and now you're doing this amount. It's a big deal for me. But I'm willing to call you. Good job. I'm willing to call you and let you know about things in advance. And that's what I'm going to do. What I need you to do is to never embarrass me like, okay,
That's right. Say it, man. Call it.
Don't ever do that again. And what I need from you is to please use more tact for our personal information in situations.
What does that look like? Like, can I speak to you for a moment? Come out the room.
Text messaging is great.
I need to express verbally, like in front of you.
Yeah, but if I'm working, it's difficult for you to pull me away from what I'm doing most of the time, anyways.
So impersonal, though.
Well, you could text me that, I need to talk to you about a situation. Call me, because then I can make some time and set things in place so that I can leave the room. Or because when I'm at work, I mean, you I think sometimes you don't.
Careful. Ask him for what you want.
I would like for you to find a more tactful way to approach me about our personal situation and avoid people, even our friends. Sometimes it's just the fact. I don't care who it is. Like it could be Steve or Pookie or Wesleyan, and I would still want the same respect.
Okay. All right, Paul.
And then also add on to that, you just give a little more leeway to what I'm requesting. Before,
Explain.
like if I'm saying, I don't know, I'm afraid you're gonna say no, like for everything. I don't have any, I don't know what the word is. I'm pretty much, whenever I ask you for anything, I'm afraid you're gonna say no.
Well, you need extra sessions with Julie about that. That's not my issue. It's yours.
Oh, God. Bam.
Was that wrong? That felt wrong.
You're right.
Right.
You're right. It was. It was. Very good. That's good self-awareness. So you got a choice. You know, when she says, please give me more leeway about, you know, how you respond to my request, here's your options, Paul. You can say, okay. You can say, no, I won't. Or you can say, I'll try.
I'll try.
It's so much more pleasant. You said that before the last thing you said.
Paul, your turn. There they go.
All right.
Quick, because we're almost out of time. So say what you can do differently next time and what you want Chantel to do differently next time something like this happens.
All right. Well,
in 1 minute.
definitely, I can. Actually, I think what I need to do is kind of calm down first, and then I would like to pull you out and talk to you about it. But if that's not at an opportune time or a good time, then I'll try to text you. And then what was the second piece?
What do you want Chantel to do differently?
Oh, what I need you to do is just slow down and think about where this money or whatever's coming out of. And
in terms of handling a situation like this, Paul, in terms of what happened with the credit card, etc.
So if you could at the time slow me down, or if you see me coming at you in a certain way, it would be helpful if you took the opportunity to say, hey, can we talk about this outside? And midway through, if I'm not conscious at the moment and I'm upset about something, it would be good if you dismiss both of us to the next room.
Okay, guys. Okay.
You actually did that recently, but you didn't do it for that incident. So.
Okay. So there's lots more to talk about, obviously, with this. Here's a couple of suggestions. Don't describe your partner. Don't describe your partner's attributes, your partner's characteristics, your partner's flaws. Don't do that. Instead, describe yourself, your fears, your feelings, whatever they are. Describe yourself. If there's anything that has to do with your partner and an interaction or something, be a newspaper reporter. When I heard you say blah, 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 I felt this. When you took this step or that step, here's what I felt. Here's what I need next time. Here's what I need next time. Okay? So that's really the key. Just remember, don't describe your partner, describe yourself. Yourself. Focus on you, yourself. All right? Okay, guys. I think